The station never really slept. It only slowed down. Lights dimming from sharp white to tired blue. Footsteps echoing softer through metal corridors. Voices dropping to murmurs like secrets shared with the walls. Deck 47 was the quietest place Elias knew. Too far from the trade hubs, too close to the docking bays. It smelled of oil, recycled air, and loneliness. Elias sat on a cargo crate with his back against the curved wall, elbows resting on his knees. In his right hand was his dinner. A sandwich. Plain bread. Protein slab. Synth greens. Nothing special. It had cost him half a shift's pay and the last of his meal credits for the week. Tomorrow, he'd skip eating. He was used to that. He stared at the sandwich for a moment longer than necessary. Don't think about it, he muttered to himself. Just eat. He lifted it. That's when he noticed her. She was sitting on the opposite side of the corridor, hunched slightly, hands folded in her lap. Her skin was pale silver gray, thin like folded paper. Deep lines carved her face, not just from age, but from something heavier, time, maybe. Her eyes were large and dark, reflecting the station lights like distant stars. An alien. Not unusual. The station housed dozens of species. But she was different. She wore no insignia, no trademarks, no sign of rank or wealth. Her clothes were simple, layers of soft, neutral fabric, worn at the edges. She looked small, fragile, lost, and she was watching the sandwich. Not greedily. Not desperately. Just quietly. Elias felt his stomach tighten. He looked away at first. Hunger was loud inside him. His hands trembled slightly. He hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. Still, something about the way she sat there, alone, unmoving, made it hard to take a bite. You're imagining things, he told himself. Then her stomach growled. It was soft, almost embarrassed. She flinched, eyes lowering, thin shoulders drawing in as if she hoped the sound had vanished before being noticed. Elias sighed. He stood, crossed the corridor, and crouched in front of her. Hey, he said gently. You hungry? She looked up, surprised. For a second, her eyes shimmered, not with fear, but something like disbelief. Yes, she said, her voice soft and careful, as if every word had to be chosen from a limited supply. Very. Elias held up the sandwich. It's not fancy, he said. But it's warm, mostly. She stared at it, then at him. You would give this to me? She asked. He shrugged. Guess so. But it is yours. Yeah, and you are human? Unfortunately, he said with a crooked smile. Something flickered across her face. Amusement? Sadness? She reached out slowly, as if the sandwich might vanish if she moved too fast. Her fingers brushed his, light as air. Thank you, she said. You are kind. Elias smiled. It's just a sandwich. She held it like a treasure. As she took the first bite, her eyes closed. Not in pleasure, but in relief. Like someone who had been holding their breath for far too long. Elias returned to his crate, hunger gnawing louder now, but something else filled the space it left behind. He didn't know it yet. But that single act, small, quiet, unnoticed, had just shifted the balance of the galaxy. They sat together on Deck 47. The old alien woman ate slowly, savoring each bite as if it carried memories instead of calories. Elias leaned back against the wall, arms crossed, pretending he wasn't hungry anymore. What's your name? He asked. She paused, fingers resting on the sandwich. I have many, she said. But here, I think, you may call me Sarai. Nice to meet you, Sarai. I'm Elias. She repeated his name carefully. Elias. Yeah, that's me. Silence settled between them, comfortable and strange. Beyond the wide viewport, ships drifted past, cargo haulers, leak cruisers, private vessels glowing with wealth. Elias watched them, wondering what it must be like to belong somewhere else. Sarai noticed his gaze. You work here, she said. Maintenance crew, he replied. Fix what breaks, clean what leaks, try not to get sucked into vacuum. She smiled faintly. A noble task. He laughed. Nobody's ever called it that. She tilted her head. Why do you stay? He shrugged. Bills. No planet to go back to. Station life's easier when you don't have roots. Sarai nodded slowly, as if she understood far too well. I once had worlds, she said quietly. Worlds? Elias repeated. Yes. Gardens that sang. Cities made of light. Oceans warm as memory. He blinked. You're a poet? She chuckled, a sound like wind through crystal. No. Just old. She finished the last bite of the sandwich and folded the wrapper carefully, smoothing the edges. You have given me more than food, she said. Elias frowned. I just shared dinner. No, she replied. You shared choice. He didn't understand. Not yet. Footsteps echoed nearby. Station guards passed by, barely glancing at them. To them, Sarai was just another aging alien, harmless, invisible. If only they knew. Sarai stood slowly, joints stiff but steady. I must go, she said. Already? Yes. But we will meet again. Elias smiled politely. Sure. Deck 47's always quiet. She hesitated, then reached into her sleeve and pulled out a small object, a thin metal disc worn to the touch. For you, she said. What is it? A reminder, she replied. That kindness is never wasted. Before he could protest, she pressed it into his palm and turned away, disappearing into the flow of the station. Elias stared at the disc. It was etched with symbols he didn't recognize, ancient, elegant, impossibly precise. He shrugged and pocketed it. Strange day, he muttered. He had no idea how true that was. 3 days later, the station went silent. Not quiet, silent. Alarms froze mid-note. Lights flickered, then stabilized into a deep, radiant gold. Ships locked in place as if time itself had grabbed hold. Elias was halfway through repairing a conduit when his tools fell from his hands. What the? A voice echoed through every corridor, every deck, every mind. Do not be afraid. People froze. Some screamed. Others dropped to their knees. Elias staggered, clutching the wall as the air shimmered. The station's central hall transformed. Holograms unfolded like wings. Stars appeared where the ceiling had been. And there, standing at the center, was Sarai. But not as he remembered her. She was taller now, posture straight, her simple robes transformed into flowing light. Her silver-gray skin glowed with constellations. Her eyes held galaxies, spirals within spirals. Every species present recognized her. Every empire, every fleet, the sovereign of the continuum, the architect of treaties, the owner of the galactic charter. She owned the galaxy, and she was looking for Elias. Security drones parted as he was gently lifted, carried forward by unseen forces until he stood before her. His mouth opened, closed. You, he whispered. You're. She smiled softly. Sarai. The hall trembled as leaders across 1,000 worlds bowed. She raised a hand. 3 cycles ago, she said, her voice now vast yet tender, I walked among you unseen. I wore hunger. I wore age. I wore silence. Her gaze never left Elias. One being shared what little he had, she continued. Without knowing who I was. Without expecting reward. She stepped closer. Kneel, someone hissed behind Elias. He didn't. Sarai laughed, a sound that shook the stars. Do not command him, she said. He has already shown me what power truly is. She placed a glowing hand over Elias's chest. By the laws of the continuum, she declared, I grant Elias of Earth my favor. Light exploded outward. Debt records vanished. His name echoed across registries. Access codes rewrote themselves. He was free, protected, honored, and utterly overwhelmed. Why? He whispered. Sarai leaned close, her voice just for him. Because you reminded the galaxy how small kindness can change everything. Elias didn't become a king. He didn't rule planets or command fleets. He went home. But home was different now. He had a small ship. A real one. No more cargo crates or maintenance shifts. He traveled to broken stations, forgotten colonies, places where hope ran thin. And everywhere he went, he shared. Food, time, help, sometimes stories, sometimes just silence. Sarai visited him once more, standing beneath an unfamiliar sky. The galaxy watches you, she said. He smiled. I'm just paying it forward. She nodded. That is how empires should be built. As she faded into light, Elias looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, power still ruled. But so did kindness. And it all began with one sandwich.